Alright, so I thought I'd do a quick video. I'm getting really pissed at people who are comparing the Anthony Weiner scandal to other sex scandals like there's no difference as to nature and degree. I was just listening to MSNBC and they were comparing his scandal to John Ensign and Representative Lee and David Vitter and Bill Clinton. And there are huge distinguishing features to all of those. Bill Clinton had a sexual relationship while he was in office, in his office, while he was supposed to be conducting, the office of the presidency. David Vitter campaigned as a family values candidate and ended up valuing hookers. John Ensign had an affair with a staffer, and then who was also his best friend's wife, and the best friend was also an employee of his. And then, his parents ended up giving him, almost $100,000 to his staffer's family to make it kind of go away. And Representative Lee, yes, he released, emailed shirtless photos of himself, but he was also trolling the internet for, sex with women and transsexuals. So there are differences in all those cases. Representative Lee's is the most similar. The transmission of, explicit photographs. But in this case, Representative Weiner, is not accused of having done anything more than simply, what we would refer to as sexting. That's basically what happened. Phone sex, explicit emails, Twitter messages, Facebook messages, text messages. And he initially lied, and I'm calling it a panic lie. It's that, oh my God, let me make up an excuse, any other excuse but the truth. And then within 10 days, after growing pressure, I'm not trying to make him sound, puritanical about any of this. He held a press conference because it was in his best interest to, explain the story and try to squash it as soon as possible. He seemed very sincere, very, very genuine, and, people, like, I was just listening to, Chris Matthews, and he was, why isn't he stepping down? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I really feel like if, as far as we know from all the information, all these women were, adults, it was all consensual, there's nothing that said, no evidence that he paid these women off for anything. I mean, there's nothing really to make it an illegal scandal. Is it embarrassing? Absolutely. But it doesn't really tick any of the boxes of he must resign. I mean, if that's the new standard, if sexting is now, an impeachable offense or a firing offense, that seems kind of awkward to me. And he admitted he made a bad choice, and he stood up there and seemed to apologize dozens of times. He took responsibility. He apologized to anybody who was negatively affected. I need to go back and see what he actually said about Breitbart and about hacking of accounts, because I never heard that. But I'm going to go back and look. Maybe I overlooked it. I think Andrew Breitbart is such a dick that I probably, even if I had seen it, it wouldn't have even registered, because, he's such an attention whore, and he just got up there and, he actually co-opted the press conference. They were waiting for Weiner to come in and talk, and Breitbart actually got up and spoke, and, was like, I have more pictures, they're more explicit pictures, and, I deserve an apology. And it's just like, dude, he's holding a press conference to apologize, and you're here co-opting it. And, people kept asking, Anthony Weiner, should you apologize to Breitbart? And it was like, he gave a blanket apology, and then he addressed Breitbart and said, anybody in the media who was misled or accused of taking any part of this, I'm sorry for that. And so I feel like he's said his apology. His wife is very unhappy with him. Let him move on. But there's this lack of distinction in, degree and severity as far as what happened, and to lump him in with guys who were actively trolling for sex on the internet, and ones who, use their positions of power, to maybe coerce women into sex, and or those who that hired prostitutes, to lump him in with those people, and then compare the outcomes. In the case of Bill Clinton and David Vitter and John Ensign, to a certain degree, they didn't resign. John Ensign only resigned when he got threatened with an investigation about whether or not he had violated the law. So when you look at that as the moral compass, there are plenty of politicians who have survived sex scandals exponentially worse and not resigned. And so I'm kind of withholding judgment unless there's more damning evidence about any of these women being minors, or there being, blackmail involved or threats involved. Otherwise, it's pretty vanilla to me. So I just want to make the point that all sex scandals are not equal. And I'm standing by Anthony Weiner. I think he apologized. He manned up big time if you watch the press conference. So that's all I have to say.